Welcome to On the Upbeat. I'm Matt.
Hey there, I'm RJ Phoenix, your favorite host on your favorite ska podcast. Face it, it's true.
It's
okay.
true.
You can like Matt. I'll allow it.
But speaking of ska podcast, RJ, why don't you introduce our guest?
Why you always throw this to me like I have something prepared? Now I just gotta go right off the top of my head and say this handsome fella that we got on this episode, all the way from Texas. He is the mastermind behind Ska Punk International, the record label, Ska Punk International, the podcast, Ska Punk International, the Ska Festival. It's Chris Reeves, everybody. Cool, Chris. What's going on, sir?
Hey, happy to be here.
Ska Punk International, the flamethrower.
Yeah, merchandising.
Merchandise. It's so funny. I love that movie. All right. So yes, Chris is here from Ska Punk International. Chris, how are things going? How's life?
Pretty good. You know, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not like a little stressed with all the things going on, but you know, first world problems. Like things are great. No complaints. Things are good.
Right. Yeah, it's good to, be busy and be, there's a healthy amount of feeling like you're doing something that feels, like work. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's all good stress, like I'd rather have a lot going on than nothing. So yeah, no complaints really.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we of course are going to deep dive into all that you have going on with SPI Fest and all that fun stuff, of course. But before we get to that, RJ, how has your week been? How are things going?
It's been busy. So we got rid of a couch this weekend. I know you're like, RJ, just getting rid of couches. Well, we had two in our living room. We bought a couch in May of 2020. We bought a new couch, and of course, height of COVID, nobody was taking our old couch in. So we just kind of had two couches in our living room, like some kind of frat house. And finally, we're like, we need to get rid of this couch, and we called 311 Bulky Pickup in LA, and they're coming to pick it up tonight, I think. But I had to flex my old man muscles and try to carry a couch with my friend Tommy. And oof, I'm a lot older than I need to get back to the gym is what I'm saying.
So is your living room is downstairs, right?
Yeah, it's on the first level of my home.
So because I live in like a townhome type thing, so most of my living quarters is upstairs, and we actually do have a couch we're gonna get rid of. And guess what we're replacing it with?
What?
Beanbag.
Oh, talk about frat house.
I know exactly. I was like, when you were like, two couches, what are we, a frat house? I was like, I feel personally attacked. What's going on here? I've had two couches a lot in my life. Actually, I think for the most part of the first part of our marriage, we actually just had one big, gigantic, couch that was like a U-shaped thing.
One of those.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Yeah.
Our couches, though, see, the couch bisects the dining room from the living room on our floor. So they were back to back. So we actually had a couch like in our dining room. So you could sit there while people were sitting at the table if you wanted. It was a very strange setup that now it's just like, oh my God, our dining room's huge because there's not a couch taking up space anymore. So that was my big week. How about you, Matt?
Wait, before Matt, I need to circle back to something.
Okay.
I can't just let it go. Did you say 311 bulk pickup?
Yeah. That's the in LA you call 311 and you can there's a whole bunch of like services you can do through LA County if you call 311. Yeah, and one of them is bulk pickup for your trash. Yeah.
So like Peanut and Nick Hexum come get it, or
nice.
No, we're gonna pick this up original style, so we're coming original. So yeah.
Amber is the color of your couch.
So maybe not every year, probably obviously during COVID they probably didn't have it, but it still blows my mind that 311 is still big enough to sell a cruise almost every year.
Why? That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, why? They're great.
I'm not saying they're a terrible band. I'm saying, I guess I didn't realize their fandom was still that large.
Oh yeah, dude. There's diehards for them where I'm from, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the least surprising thing. Actually.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously they do get a bunch of other bands, so maybe that combined with, whatever. So,
I mean, I'm not here to defend 311. In fact, when I had a chance to see 311, I was like, nah, I'll leave the show early.
I have seen 311. I actually saw them on a Warped Tour.
Yeah, I've seen them 3 or 4 times.
Maybe I'm trying to think. Maybe did I haphazardly see them on a Warped Tour? That could be the case. But at Back to the Beach, yeah, no, I was just like, I'm avoiding traffic. I'm out of here.
Oh, I would have watched them there for sure. I'm not. I feel like I've suddenly ended up being the 311 defender. I'm not. I just I like some of the songs. They're fine. I have no issues with them.
Yeah.
But I don't like love them or something. But if I have a chance to see them and it's cheap or like I'm already there or something, like I'm gonna do it.
I had a hotel to go get checked into. I had a 2:30 Abracadabra show I needed to go see. Nah.
Yeah, I get it.
I see.
Skipping 311.
I get it. I could see they're not your favorite. You had some other things to do, so you did them.
Yeah.
I get it. And I don't know. There's a lot of bands I probably wouldn't go see if they weren't playing with someone else. It's not that I don't like them. And actually, I was pretty into 311 when, in their heyday in the 90s. So yeah. All right. Enough 311 talk.
Enough 311 couch talk.
That's my fault. You asked me to be on. This is what happens.
I adore it. One of these days, I do want to hang out with Chris, and then you can see how awkward I really am in person, Chris. But it'll be fun.
No, it's the same for me.
Okay.
It's always awkward at first, and then it's like, oh, actually, we're friends already. It's fine, and then it's all good. But it's always weird at first, but it's fine.
Oh, yeah. It's not even at first. You can ask me. I'm always awkward in person. He's like the friendliest guy in the world, and I'm just like, yeah, hey, I know I talk to you for like 90 minutes every week. And then here I am seeing you in person, still like shy as all hell for the whole entire duration of the show we're at.
Sure, it's fine.
I'm an acquired taste. Let's just put it that way.
I think we all are. So, Chris, I had to rack my brain at first as like, okay, I know this isn't Chris's first time on the podcast, but I felt like I kept thinking there was another time before we did that whole big episode with
the huge crossover. Yeah.
Actually, I think that was the first one.
I think it was. Yeah.
I don't think I've like actually been on like this before.
Yeah. I
just always ask you about all the bands to be on, but I don't think I've actually done it other than that one with Adam, Aaron, and Brian.
It took me a second to figure out why I thought you'd been on before, and I think it was because we all did that Andy B in the World
yes.
Right, for YouTube, and I kept that just seemed like another time, so I was like, you know what? I don't think we've actually done like a formal thing with Chris. So
I don't think so.
Yeah, so let's start out with Chris. How did you get into ska music? What is your ska origin story?
Yes. Well, I'm not really a spring chicken, so I got into it a long time ago, right around the time of when it starts like really taking off. But I had heard it earlier than that without realizing it, because Two Tone Army was the song for Kablam on Nickelodeon, and I watched that like weekly, and so I thought that was super cool. But then when I started getting into skateboarding and started hearing like hip hop and punk rock and stuff on the skate videos, then I started like hearing some of these bands. Like there was one video that I had, it was actually not skateboarding, it was a rollerblading video, but it had like Suicide Machines, the Toasters, farts. There was one more that I can't remember, but then it also had, like Tribe Called Quest and The Far Side, a bunch of cool like hip hop on it. But I really, really liked it. It was a Toasters East Side Beat. I really, really thought that was cool. So I got 2 or 3 Toasters CDs after that. And one of them was the one that has Two Tone Army on it. And I was like, whoa, it was like unlocking, like having like Ratatouille, like unlocking a core memory of like, whoa, I know this song. So yeah, well, that would have been when I was like 15, maybe 14. So 97, 96, somewhere around there.
Mm.
And I went to my first show in 97, Bucko 9 and Mephistopheles here in Dallas.
Oh wow.
There's this kid, Josh, that moved from San Diego. And Josh seemed like so cool, had all these CDs of all these like ska and punk bands that I didn't know. I would just like bring them and let me like borrow them and tape them, or he would like tape them for me. And he told me like, hey, this show is coming. Do you think we could get our parents to like drive us? Like, I've only been here like 3 months. Do you know this place? Like, no, I've never been. No, I'm 15. Like, I don't know. But yeah, we could try. And it was an all ages thing in the afternoon. It was at like doors were at like 3 or 4 or something. The show was over before dark even. I think there was a local band that I don't remember, but then Bucko 9 and then Meth after that. And I hadn't heard either of them before, but it just like blew me away. And like seeing everybody go crazy, the whole place was packed. I was like, oh, I'm hooked. Like that's it. So, every show I could from then on, reading the liner notes on every CD, see these and these and these, and then you find, Asian Man, and you find this and this and that. So it just went from there. That's pretty much the story.
Cool.
I'm glad to hear you mention skate videos, because that was a minor gateway for me too, and it's not something you hear that often. But for me and my friends, that was a big thing. The skate videos.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was clear like curation being done on those videos. I mean, even now, some skate videos still come out, but it's not in the same way where you're like passing a VHS or even in the early 2000s, a DVD. There's clear like curation done in like the music, the music that like either like the section of that skater liked, there would be like a song that they picked or something, or like the overall people putting it out. Because there were like clear vibes. Like some had just like the type of like hip hop or something that I wasn't that into, or just be a lot of like classic rock or something that was not totally my thing either at that age. So you would like find the vibe of the videos you like, and if a new one was coming, you wanted that one. It was kind of like a mixtape you could watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I love it, and one day I'm hoping to do one myself, but we'll see.
Ooh.
I tried last year, but I couldn't get enough skaters willing to do it. I'll keep trying.
Ska Punk International, the skate tape. I'm down. I'm ready.
Yeah, really, I just want like someone to do it, and then I'll just give them like music. But I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I love skate videos. I still have a hole in my heart for them. So yeah.
So any skaters listening, if you got a little crew and want to make a videotape of your crew, but you have to do it on old school VHS though. That's the only way it's gonna. I'm just kidding.
Oh, well, we'll definitely put it on VHS. There are more than one SPI band that want to do a thing on VHS, so that's already a thing I've figured out.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. So, how did you get the nickname Cool Chris? Was there a particular cool act you did? How did that nickname come around?
It's almost like the opposite, but it actually goes back to my DJ days. For like in college, after I was in like ska punk bands in college, after those broke up, I started like DJing at like parties and things because I had records, and I didn't just only like ska and punk, even though like it like blew me away at like the shows. It was just like overall, I was just obsessed with like finding music and different things. And so I had a lot of records, and people just asked me to come over and play, while they hung out or whatever the party was doing. Some parties got like really nuts. And I was doing that after college for a while. It was actually like my full-time thing.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't really have like a consistent name, but when I first got a residency, the owner at that place, it was called The Cavern, modeled after the place like where the Beatles were like first playing and like discovered and whatever. The owner there would just be like, "Oh, look who it is! It's Cool Chris," and people there would sort of like say that, and so I just started going by like DJ Cool C to just shorten it. And when all this SPI stuff started sort of taking off and some of the people started paying attention to me, there are a few that put two and two together that there's DJ Cool C is actually me. And so people just started doing the whole thing and just it sort of like went back in time, just started just saying Cool Chris.
Awesome.
So I guess DJing is a cool act that got me the thing, but I don't know. Just the owner there, I'm kind of blanking on his name because that was a while ago. That was like 2007 when I was a resident there. But Mark, maybe? I don't remember. But
Mark
anyway,
works.
he kind of gave it to me. And I just let it happen.
So you said before you started DJing, you were in ska punk bands that
Mhm.
failed. I'm gonna have to ask, what were the names of these bands, Chris?
Well, the main one was called the Board Agains, like Bored Again. It was not great. And we weren't very good, but we were very energetic.
Enthusiastic and energetic. That'll buy you some stage
Yeah.
space for sure.
I mean, that's kind of what it's going to be when you're like 17 and 18.
Yeah.
But we did get a lot of shows. Like we played with pretty much any band at the time that was still touring. That came through Dallas. Some just like generally in Texas, like ME330. We toured with Link 80. That's how I know Adam. We played with Rise Against before they were like anything.
Oh wow.
They were opening for Mustard Plug. No, that's not right. Someone heavier. I don't know. They were like the support on a tour for a ska punk band, and we got put on that show. I don't know. The Galaxy Club was the big thing here before they closed in like, I don't know, 2008 or 9, and we opened a lot of shows there. But we weren't very good. Like we really weren't very good. You can imagine, I know both of you can, just like a generic third wave from around 97, and that's what we sounded like, or 98, and that's what we sounded like. We occasionally did like heavier stuff because we really liked like Voodoo Glow Skulls and Link 80, but it was a mess.
That's what, when you're that age, your bands are supposed to be kind of a mess and fun and just heck yeah. Is that the only band, or is there any more?
Yeah, there was another one called the Panic Button, and we thought it would be cool to, after like a few shows, shorten it and be Panic B. That was not cool either. The Board Agains had horns. We had trombone and sax. Panic B was not. It was straight ska punk, guitar, bass, drums. We were very much just trying to be the Suicide Machines. Yeah. A little better, but also not very good.
I feel like that's 90s ska punk in general. It, the band, or at least the bands that came a little bit later off of that, not very good, but better.
Yeah.
Yeah, this kid's like, this is my first band, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to have fun, and then they don't sit around perfecting anything, which I think is good. That's the punk rock spirit. You just get out and you start playing, and you have fun. So you're doing the band's dissolved, you start doing DJing, and then eventually you start doing Ska Punk International. How did you make that change, that switch from DJ to record label?
Well, I had stopped DJing well before that. Like,
oh, okay.
I DJed last year actually at my friend's Megawave's wedding, Michi and Diglo.
Nice.
They flew me out and said, we can't really do anything besides fly out. And like, that's fine. No worries there. Like, I haven't done this in a while. But before that, I hadn't played since 2011.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did it. I was seriously playing like 5 nights a week, maybe 6.
Oh, dude.
From like 2007 to around 2010, 2011. And it was just like a beating. Like, I was happy that like that's what I was doing, but I was like barely making rent and stuff, because unless you're like, like Questlove, like a famous DJ,
yeah,
no one's really gonna pay you. And so some people would come out, but like I had to work so much, and you're up until like 5 a.m. Like, it was brutal. So I went to school for advertising, and so I had done like some freelance stuff. And so around then, like a friend of mine that I went to school with worked at this agency and was like, you know, I can get you a job doing design. And I was like, yeah, screw it. I'll 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 get a job. Like I'm tired. And so I did that and I didn't really like the job very much, but I also was enjoying not like standing up for like 4 hours all the time.
Yeah.
So I never really started playing again, even though like I really only did that job for maybe a year. I don't think I even made it a year. And then I've been freelancing ever since. Like I haven't had like a real job since then, but I haven't like really DJ'd either. So SPI though was really just pandemic. My freelance stuff had almost completely stopped. And in my freelance stuff, it's all over the place, like producing podcasts or design or doing web stuff or writing copy. Like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
But because of the podcast thing, I was like, I have so much free time just sitting here. And my wife is sick of me talking about ska. Like most of the other music I like, she's into, but we don't really like that cross section doesn't really exist.
Oh yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's good. Like I don't want someone that like likes every single thing I do.
Yeah.
It's fine. But pretty much was like, well, I know how to do this. I got nothing but time right now. I'm just gonna start a thing. I got an email because of working on a few of the other podcasts from like I used to have. I don't think they work there anymore. Like a rep at Spotify that would help get some of these shows like on like charts and stuff. So they emailed like, "Hey, we got this new thing where you can like use music." They're like, "Well, that's pretty cool. Can I do a show about ska?" And they're like, "I guess so." Like they really were like, I mean, after because it was like a week or so before it launched. They're like, I mean, after it launches, anyone can do anything. So I guess so. So I was a little fortunate that I launched around the time where they like told everyone that you could make shows like that. So there's a lot of like, whoa, cool, the songs are in the episodes. But really, I just had nothing but time, so I just started it and didn't think anyone was going to pay attention. It was just something for me to do until like I could find more work again. Yeah, it's taken off from there.
So how did what made you want to start a label? Like,
Well, I've always wanted to do that ever since really like when I started learning about like Asian Man Records or like some of the other like really cool like labels in other genres like Stone's Throw Records is really, really cool. I really think what Peanut Butter Wolf does with that one is really, really cool. Needle Juice, like just there's a bunch that I think are inspiring. And like as a freelance kind of person and a marketing person, I think there's a lot of like interesting stuff to watch on how these exist while like being DIY without like selling out just to like sell stuff. And so I've always wanted to try that because obviously I'm a music person. I've loved music forever. I'm always trying to find music. And because I have some knowledge about marketing, it always seemed like at least some of the aspects I felt I would be okay at. And there's a ton of stuff that I was not prepared for and I'm having to learn like constantly. But you know, that's the price of things working and that's fine. I'm glad for that. But I just kind of always wanted to, and the podcast was doing pretty well. And I mean, really when I posted some videos on TikTok just to promote the podcast and a couple of them just started like blowing up. And suddenly I had like a lot of followers there and was like, well, I should probably do something with this. And there was like only one choice. Like really for me, there's only one choice. That's to try to convert it into a label because a bunch of bands are already asking to be featured on the show. So it was like, well, some of them I think I could do more for. And so it just seemed like a natural thing.
what was the first band you put out a release for?
Well, the first one was that Songs for Moms compilation.
Right.
And then after that, it was the Upbeat All Stars from the UK, Andy B's old band, one of Andy B's old bands. When Andy B was on the podcast, he told me like, "Hey, I've got this old thing. You probably like it," and just kind of like sent me like a Google Drive thing, and I was just like, "Whoa, you're telling me what? What? How is this not? Whoa!" Like, yeah, I mean, it did pretty well in the UK, but like nothing ever happened beyond that. I was like, can I put it in the US? Yeah, sure. Basically. So that would be the first official one. He had like a truckload of CDs just sitting around that they never used because they played some shows and then they just stopped. And so pretty much I just had to pay to ship them from the UK, and now I just gotta like he seriously sent me like 400, and we've sold some, of course. So I don't have that many anymore, but I do have probably 100 left or something. But it was great because pretty low risk for me to dip my toe in, and yeah, it went fine. So I was like, great, let's keep doing it.
Awesome. So how did you go from that to now having your own festival?
Oh, I don't even know, to be honest. I mean, I do because I lived it, but it seems insane, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So maybe just fast forward a little bit and just say, like, where did putting this festival together? Because you announced it very early this month in January, and it seemed you announced, like, I think the surprise for at least I can say for RJ, Gary, and I, it was that it was 2 days and you had just a bunch of bands. And we were like, it just seemed so out of the blue for us. Like, it seemed like...
I know you had been teasing SPI Fest, but just the fact that it was going to be a thing, not who was playing necessarily.
Yeah, that was a little bit on purpose. That's the marketing. That was the marketing part of me. Knowing that there was like, I don't know, a little bit of like low expectations or like, I don't know, a little bit under the radar kind of thing.
All right.
And so I knew that we could like, I'll go back and answer your question in a second, but I knew that like, we could definitely get a lot of like shock and like, whoa, knowing what was coming, because I knew that was not actually what most people were expecting.
Yeah.
So that was on purpose. But go back to what you asked though. The quick version is that we did a show last year. We being Jacob from Young Costello, aka Ska Dad, has been booking shows around San Antonio and Austin for a really long time, like since 2014, maybe 2013. Did this like ska implosion series at a few different places, and book some other like random shows or whatever, just places where like Young Costello or even like Husker and the Diehards and Holophonics, like really any of the Texas bands you might know, have played some of those type of shows. But last year, 2021, Jacob was like, I've got the opportunity to do a couple shows around South by Southwest. Can you want to partner up and maybe you can help like book a few bands that I might not know? It's like, okay, yeah, that sounds fun. So I just messaged a few, like Andy and Jessica from Flying Raccoon Suit. They were like the main one on that show, and then it was some of the bands I just listed, like Los Corrados, Hans Gruber and the Diehards, Young Costello, a few other local ones that I'm forgetting, Vision 98, Flipping the Combined Effort. So that was in Austin at Flamingo, where we're doing it now. And then we did one the next day in San Antonio at a different venue, and that one had similar lineup, but also Los Cagoleros and Holy Schnikes. And then there was an official South by Southwest showcase that was back in Austin. And I feel bad, but I don't totally remember that lineup except for Holy Schnikes, because I actually didn't really book it at all. It was just like, hey, can you help promote it? Because one thing that's kind of not great about a South by Southwest showcase is they'll put it on like the website and they'll give you like the art, but you kind of just have to make sure people show up.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, sure, I'll help make that happen. No worries. But the two unofficial shows went like really, really well. The showcase was fine, but it's South by stuff is a little awkward, but it was still really fun. But the two official ones basically sold out, tons of people, super fun. And so pretty quickly, people started being like, well, what are you going to do next? Like, what about next year? Who are you going to invite? And I was not sure, like, it was fun, but it was like, that's not really what I want to focus on.
Right.
I'm focusing on like the stuff that I want to put out. I've already got stuff planned. So I kind of like put it off, but like things kept like going really well for the label itself. Followers and yada, stuff growing. I feel weird saying that stuff because it feels weird, but stuff has grown. And so it was like Jacob had like actual dates with Flamingo sort of like blocked, and he was like, so are you in or not? And I'd already seen some chatter where people were like, SPI Fest win in some different places. And he was like, we could probably just get like Joystick, Flying Raccoon Suit, and Hans Gruber and Jan Costello. And it was like, if you do that, people are just gonna say, is this SPI Fest? Like, we might as well just do it. Like, we might as well just do it. Like, just commit that both days, and I'll just like go in and just ask everybody that I can. We'll just shoot for the moon and see what could happen. And that's pretty much it. Like, I wasn't really sure if we could get like maybe the toasters, tsunami bomb, stuff like that. I didn't know for sure if it would work based on like our budget and stuff, but like it turned out that Lilith Man Band and Wicked Bears were like trying to already get over here at the same time, and it was just like a perfect fit. And like a couple of things like that just happened around like October when I was trying to put that last SPI Direct together. And it was just like, you know what? We're actually going to be able to pull this off. I don't know every band that's going to be there yet, but we already have like most of these. I'm just going to tell people we're doing it. And then we'll do the lineup later. It'll be fine. And it was very much like a Wayne Stock situation because it was like most were booked. But I figured worst case, whatever. All I said was the dates. I say all kinds of stuff online that I then like typos or whatever. It's fine. So I was like, worst case, there's only one day or what? I don't know. So I just set it in October. But then, yeah, there was a lot of all over the place stuff, and there still is, because doing a whole festival is a lot. But finally got to where, like right around Thanksgiving, it was like, all right, we can do this. It's all locked in. We got the lineup done. Let's do this. So then it was a matter of just getting art done. And because of holidays, I couldn't get it done to do it until basically like right before Christmas. But then we're not going to do this at Christmas. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Then
it was like, okay, I got this other album we got to do at the beginning of January. So we'll do it right after that. So yeah.
Just do it and we'll be legends, kind of.
Yeah, right. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going pretty well, though. I'm happy about it.
Yeah. So how are ticket sales going as of right now? Obviously, we're recording this on, a Monday, and
late January. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll drop on Wednesday. We're recording on January 23rd. This will go up on the 25th. As of right now, how are tickets going?
I mean, pretty good. There was always like the big concern because, like I said, I knew that there would be a lot of like, whoa, but that doesn't necessarily mean people are going to buy tickets because ideally this was already like tickets on sale and stuff maybe in December or even earlier because a lot of the SPI audience isn't necessarily in Texas. Like there are because of some of the bands being in Texas, but there's also a lot all over the world, not just in the US, right? So there would be traveling. So I was a little stressed out that it'd be like, whoa, and we'd get like a lot of shares and but that didn't necessarily mean sales. But it's going pretty great. We're about 2/3 sold out. There's only, let me double check real quick. There's only 38 2-day passes left, like literally right now this second.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And then, around 50-ish single day for Saturday, around like about the same for Friday. So about 2/3 sold out.
Yeah.
Because it's about a 350 cap room, and we have so many freaking bands that we actually have to consider how many of those people will be there and can't sell tickets for that. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we can sell about like 300 or so, and yeah, we're about 2/3 there. So I'm super happy about that.
That's awesome. That's like, we saw that and we were like, wow, that is a great lineup. Part of us, RJ and I, were both like, too bad it's in Texas. And so but we were definitely excited for you and for it, and excited.
Oh yeah, I'm very upset that I can't be there, to be honest, because it's a killer lineup. A bunch of my favorite people being put on by one of my favorite online ska buddies, and yeah, it's just a real shame.
So
because it's going to be super rad.
Well, too bad I didn't give you more time. See, I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like you could have told us last March, and we'd be like,
yeah.
I know. That's what people keep telling me. Is that like there's some people that wouldn't have been able to make it work no matter what. So ultimately, I'm over it, but I can't help but think about it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get it. So you mentioned you dropped a new release. You have a new artist in early January. You released wasn't it New Year's Day?
January 3rd.
Okay. So very early in the new year. Dropped a new release from a new artist on your label. Yours sincerely. What can you tell about them and their music?
Yeah. So they're a laptop ska. Similar to like Tape Girl or K-Moy or really like Chris Grau too. Like there's a lot of like now that are kind of like playing most of the parts on their songs and sort of just like almost solo artist things. So Yours Sincerely follows that vein. They're from Canada. And I don't know, it just kind of blew me away. Like this was a thing where like I actually didn't know them at all. Briefly from a couple online interactions, but Beth, actually, Tape Girl, said like, hey, our friend Nina is wondering if she can send you her album. It's pretty good. Like, well, yeah, okay. Like, yes. Yes, send it. Like, that's fine. Like, I always like to hear stuff. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to do anything right, but yeah, send it. And it's just got some stuff that most other releases don't have right now that I was just instantly drawn to. Like the first time I listened to it, it was kind of like, whoa, what is happening? And then there would be like this whole new genre and then another one. And then I was like, I got to hear that again. And then after 3 times, I was like, okay, well, there's something here if I just had to hear it 3 times in a row. So I was like, hey, Nina, when can we talk about this? Like, I'm definitely interested. And, went from there. Like, it's got more of a like grungy kind of alternative vibe than some of the other similar ones that I was talking about. It's definitely not like third wavy or anything, but it's got slower ballads, but it's also got like shreddy guitar solos. There's even like some heavy, like kind of like ska-core breakdowns. Like it feels weird to call it a ska record. There is ska on it, of course, but there's just so much going on it. It's awesome. I love it. It's so good. And Nina played everything except for the horns on the 3rd track. Recruited a couple people for that. Otherwise, they played everything, and it's insane. It's crazy.
Like it feels, without knowing too much about, this individual, Yours Sincerely, it feels like the same person, the same person is putting out these good songs. And I think when you messaged me or told me about the album, or you messaged me the album, I immediately listened to the first track, and I was like, the first track, I'll just say, there's no ska on it, but
it's just piano.
I was just blown away by just the heart and soul of that song.
Right.
Like that's really moving. So it's gonna blow me away if I assumed you're putting it out, so there's probably ska on the record somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, all right, let's keep listening. And yeah, it's a really good album, and that's coming. I'm gonna be real honest. I've never been super into computer, music and stuff. And like Chris Grau, I've been super into, but he also does do a lot of live stuff. But yeah, so I really love this album and that song too. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's like helping it is that some of the other ones will do like a mix of like almost like MIDI instruments and stuff. Yeah. But Nina did all like live takes. It's just like it took forever for her to like loop and play it all together and blah blah blah. So but I do think that gives it that little bit of a retro like 90s feel, and also purposely like mixed it in that way to sort of sound like like a Veruca Salt or I don't know, like Smashing Pumpkins or something. I know Nina's talked to me before about she really likes what's that record? Gish, the first Smashing Pumpkins record, a lot.
Maybe that's why maybe that's why I like it so much. Not because I'm a big Smashing Pumpkins fan, but I love 90s music. So if she could have thrown in some, or if they could have thrown in some 90s hip hop into that mix, I think I probably would have dropped dead.
Yeah, well, maybe another release will have a little of that in it. We'll see. But yeah, that's not really her vibe. But I think it's awesome. That's great.
But it just sort of made sense when you said that they have a lot of 90s sort of vibe on that, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense because I love 90s music. So I think you mentioned it a little bit ago, but Chris, where can people get tickets for SPI Fest?
SPIFest.org. And there's another show like after in San Antonio, if you're in the San Antonio area, with some of the other bands. And then we haven't actually announced it yet, but it's fine. There's another show right before on March 9th, if you're in the Dallas area in Denton, with some of the bands. So yeah, that should all be at spifest.org. Actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, only the main fest is at spi.org, spifest.org. But that's fine. That's the main one I want you to go to anyway. The other ones, just pay attention to Ska Punk International on any of the platforms. You can find me there, and I'll post about those links when I have them.
All right. So, Chris, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And
of course.
We appreciate it this week. And listeners, if you want to hear more from Chris, you should think about subscribing to our Patreon. $4 a month gets you at least 2 bonus episodes a month. It gets you private access to a Facebook page, and you get 10% discount on merch. So, yay.
I always forget about that one.
I know, me too.
It's a great perk.
So, yes. All right, listeners, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for listening. And until next time,
keep listening to ska.
You've been listening to On the Upbeat. The On the Upbeat theme music is written and performed by Millington. Make sure you follow them on Instagram at Millington the Band. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at On the Upbeat Ska. Be sure to check out our Spotify playlist, Ska Favorites. It features all the songs heard on the show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you would like to support On the Upbeat financially, visit www.ko-fi.com/ontheupbeat. Thanks for listening and supporting On the Upbeat.